And very excited today to talk to you about this idea on how you can lead this enterprise collaboration revolution. In case you don't know, we're in this big revolution that's happening, and I'm going to show you 5 specific steps on how you can maximize SharePoint, especially in your highly compliant environment. Now, just to clarify, again, my name is Dux Raymond Sai, and often I've been confused for another guy. I am DSY, all right? And my style is much better than his. So just get that out of the way. So I'm Dux, managing partner at Innovative E. We're based out of DC and Atlanta, and we focus on helping organizations like yours maximize the business benefits of SharePoint. We work with a couple large organizations in the life sciences field. I'm very excited to share with you lessons we've learned, but more importantly, practical tips you can take back and take advantage of SharePoint more than just a file share. You know, 80% of global SharePoint deployments is nothing but a big file share. We're all here learning about life sciences, all the great stories and applications, and you think back to your world, man, we're paying a lot of money for a file share. Hopefully that'll change today. So, what we're going to look at also is the idea of how you take advantage of this business platform. And when I talk about business platform, there's a lot of different things you do in your organization, and we're going to look at that. In fact, I wrote one of the first books around focusing on using SharePoint for business use, project management, project collaboration. I'm sure a lot of you, are you engaged in clinical trials? Yeah, that's a poster child for working on projects, right? So if you're interested, I'm going to give everybody a copy of the book I wrote. Just stop by our booth 17, drop your contact. I'll send you a copy if you're interested, okay? Published by Microsoft Press. So let's talk about this revolution. Are we ready for this revolution? Regardless if we're ready or not, it's here. We're in this age of BYOD. Bring your own device. Well, Mike talked about this fruity phones, you know. He has this vision of a perfect Microsoft world, which, you know, it would be great, but that's not reality. I mean, everybody in organization today has their tool of choice. You got your PCs, great. You got your Macs. You got your iPhones, Android. I mean, the executives alone, they love their iPads. Can't take it away from them. But it's incumbent upon us to make it work. And more than hardware, what about software? I mean, we see a lot of great solutions today. But if we cannot help our organizations, what do? Well, IT can't give us a solution. I'm going to sign up for Dropbox. You have people like that? Pain of our existence, right? I'm going to sign up for Box. Well, maybe we use Google Apps. I can't program, so I'm going to use a LinkedIn group to collaborate with my other scientist colleagues, or maybe a Facebook group. While it works, it's not ideal for our organization. Another sign that the revolution is here is just the speed of business. Decisions are made. Mergers and acquisitions happen. I've just been reading up a couple large life sciences deals that just took place last week. I mean, who would have thunk, talking about speed of business today, somebody putting a video on YouTube in July 2012 will become the most watched video in December, and the guy made $8 million. I'm not sorry or anything. But it's here. Another sign of this revolution, we're asked to do more with less. I've been talking to a lot of CIOs in this field saying, well, Dux, while our business is growing, my IT budget's been cut 30% because we're not a profit center. But the business still expects the same set of services and more. Right? And then the last sign of this revolution is this whole idea of engagement and collaboration. And when we talk about collaboration, you know what the number one collaboration tool today in 2013 is? Anybody? They did this global survey of Fortune 500 companies. What's the number one tool? Email. Where in 2013, everybody's waiting for the Galaxy S4, iPhone 6, Surface Pro 10. You have GPS in your car, TiVo at home because you have to record Dancing with the Stars. We use a freaking 1973 technology to collaborate and do clinical trials. We laugh, but it's so embarrassing. This has to change, gang. And this whole trend of better collaboration, better working together, it's like this thing we just can't get to. Because the key is we have to understand what's going on today. You know, Mike earlier talked about this idea of social. And I think there's a big misunderstanding in the enterprise about social. I work with a lot of organizations. People are curious about social, but they say, oh, we don't want that. We don't want people posting cat pictures in our intranet. Or what they had for lunch. I don't care if they checked in to this conference. That's not what we're talking about. There's a lot of value and learnings from consumer social, because today the generation are so deeply entrenched in this. So for example, Mr. Alex Darrow is the epitome of social generation. Alex expects that he can do 10,000 things at once. That's just the nature of this generation. Alex communicates in real time with whatever. Mike earlier was saying his daughter was tweeting next to her friend. Maybe they're messaging on Facebook. You know, email to them is just an alerting mechanism. Kids today, they don't email. They message each other. They text each other. Right? And it doesn't matter. They can work anytime, anywhere with anything. Expect seamless tech experience, and more importantly, they keep tabs on their peers. And that's why the idea of having a newsfeed in your enterprise is brilliant. Because in Facebook, you don't really check up on people. You're friends with people, and their stream comes up, keeps you updated, what's going on. But imagine all these characteristics translated to your company. How much powerful is that? Don't you agree? Only he does. Everybody else agrees? So what are we talking about here in terms of social? I think this is the best definition of social. If you can memorize it, please read it with me. 1, 2, 3. Enterprise social, with me please, is an important method for enhancing communication, coordination, and collaboration for... Did it say anything about newsfeed, or likes, or follow, or wikis? No. Don't get too caught up on features and capabilities. Those enable enterprise social. I was working with a large organization a few weeks ago. I was advising them on their 2013 upgrade. And the lead architect or the lead project manager says, hey, Gus, we're going to roll this out to our 80,000 users worldwide, 2013. So what do you think? You know, we're going to put site templates with wikis. We're going to use the newsfeed, likes. I go, oh. Why? Just like you, they were silent, like 10 people in the room. That made me insecure, being an immigrant. I thought my English wasn't good enough. So I asked another question. ¿Por qué? What are you talking about? I said, why do you want these newsfeeds, likes? What business purpose does it deliver? I don't know. I mean, isn't that the cool thing? Enterprise social, E2.0. You know, the users that they want a wiki. I don't know. I mean, wiki? All that's good for in the club. Wiki. Unless you tell me how newsfeeds, wikis, surveys, and likes can help Miss Betty in accounting who's processing payroll at the end of every month, don't do it. Y'all with me? You feel the love? So, what should I do, Docs? I mean, on one hand, you're saying SharePoint is great, 2013 is great, all social is great, but on the other, say, it has to deliver business value, and that's where we're stuck, Ducks. You know, I read your mind. We got this big investment on SharePoint. IT rolled it out, spent buku amount of money, buy all this software, and at the end of the day, it's a big freaking foul dump. So what should I do? Here are 5 steps I'm going to share with you. Okay? So first step. Regardless of what you're doing in your world, especially in your world, be it a basic intranet, a collaboration platform for clinical trials, maybe something more specialized, like a, pharmacovigilance solution. She knows what pharmacovigilance is. PhD, people in the house. I know my life science. The first thing you got to get in your head is, I got to get my decision makers, my sponsors, my check writers to understand what SharePoint is. You see, what I find these days, there's a lot, there's ignorance about SharePoint. And it's nobody's fault. It's not their fault. I'm not blaming the check writers. The people that told you to put SharePoint have no freaking clue of what they want to do. Because SharePoint, if it's a platform, right, how come in your SharePoint investment, it's not the same investment like you have with other platforms? How much do you budget for SAP every fiscal year? There's a line item. Is it $50,000? I doubt it. How much do you budget for SharePoint as a business platform? There's no line item, Docs. It's under our Microsoft bucket. We signed this EA, and SharePoint's just part of it. Whatever. It doesn't make sense. If it's a freaking platform and you're investing $2, obviously it won't work. You got to show the business value. And when we talk about a platform, we're not just talking about a little one-trick pony. We're talking about it's going to power up our organization to enable to do business better. Yeah, an intranet is a possibility. Yeah, a project management solution is a possibility. Maybe an extranet. But we're talking about strategic investment. Because the value of SharePoint, while it could have all these different great solutions, well, Docs, I can see, we don't have to spend money on Documentum. Anybody using Documentum? Maybe. We don't have to spend money on .NET New for an intranet. We don't have to spend money on Clarity. Anybody using Clarity? Primavera? Bless your heart. Yeah, one funny story being an immigrant. When I first moved to the U.S., I lived in Atlanta. And people start telling me, bless your heart. I thought, wow, people are so nice and religious here. And a few weeks later, I realized that's an excuse to be mean. Bless his heart. That kid's ugly. And it's okay, right? No. Yeah, for my German friends, you got to learn all that stuff. But one thing we miss is that while SharePoint is great for doing all these solutions, we're missing out on the other half. SharePoint is a brilliant platform that interacts with our business end users, regardless of what tools, regardless of what time, regardless of what application. What do you mean, guys? Well, check this out. You know what the 2 killer apps in the enterprise today is? 2. There's 2 killer applications. No matter what we say, it's the top 2 applications that's being consumed in the enterprise. Email and what? Excel. We want to admit it or not, email, Excel. People can't live without it. I go to work, I fire up Outlook, it's on my 3rd monitor, it sits there all day long. Yeah? SharePoint is just an afterthought. Oh, I got to put that file in SharePoint. But what if we can transform SharePoint to be such a business essential platform? Right? And that's the message you want to convey to your executives. Okay, Docs, you keep saying it's a platform, business essential, but give me a scenario. Give me an example. Okay, I'm going to show you an example. All right? So this is a personal example. I'm going to show you a kind of a small scale example. This is my company website, Innovative E. We're based out of DC and Atlanta, and we help a lot of enterprises maximize the value of SharePoint. And as a company, one of our pain points early on is our website getting updated. Early on, when we had marketing, events, white paper, we had to go through a webmaster. Y'all with me? And this webmaster, if he's or she's busy, our content doesn't get updated on our public-facing website. So, why don't we take advantage of SharePoint as a platform? So at one point in time, we're already using SharePoint as our intranet, and we realize there's a lot of content in the intranet that needs to go out to the public-facing site. Events, training, white papers. And what ended up happening before is the same piece of content in the intranet. Oh, I got to enter this on the public site again. Oh, I got to enter this in my Outlook calendar. Y'all follow me? You've been there. What if we live up to the promise of SharePoint and use it as a true platform where it doesn't matter where it's coming from, who's putting it, as long as they can, will surface relevantly. And we did that. So here's the deal, gang. So this is our public-facing website. And, just like any website, we have events. So I'm going to go to this event, ShareFest 2013, okay? So it looks like any other web page, whatever. But let me go and show you the behind the scenes. So I'm going to go to my Windows environment. Yeah, I know, I'm using a Mac. Get over it. It's cool. That's what I love about 2013. So this is my public-facing website, and I'm logged in. Now this kind of looks sort of familiar, right? You got your site actions. So I'm going to go to my View All Site Content, because this is heavily tied to our intranet. And when I say View All Site Content, this should feel like home now. I'm going to go to my intranet calendar, out of the box, calendar list. And in that calendar, you'll see a listing of all the events that we have for the organization. So be it internal training, conferences, events, and so there you go. So I'm going to look for ShareFest. What's today? Did I miss it? Okay. Oh, there you go. ShareFest. So, oh, no, I click on the ribbon here. Right there. All right. So, this is all out of the box. Should look familiar to you. The only other thing we did here is we added a couple columns to put actual categories. Is this an event, a training, a partner thing? Y'all follow me? Okay, so here's the deal. The deal is, anytime anybody of us in the company, usually it's my colleague Pamela, if she enters in information for an upcoming conference I'm speaking at, she does it in the intranet. She tags it correctly as to what it is. It's an event. And guess what? You know, we talk about this idea of a platform. Because she puts it in the intranet, tags it accordingly, there's rules now that it's going to show up in the public-facing site, it's going to show up in my blog, and that's the promise. Because she doesn't have to do it 10,000 times, right? One-stop shop. Y'all with me? But wait, there's more. Should be a home TV show. Pamela, while she likes SharePoint, her killer app is Outlook. She lives in Outlook, and so does we, right? So one thing the way she manages a lot of our content in our intranet, especially this calendar, is she actually took our calendar, and what did she do? She, it's thinking, but you know how in calendar is this, you can connect to Outlook, right? Y'all see that? So she connected it to her local copy of Outlook. And again, this is all out of the box. It's been there since 2007. So a similar scenario, this is my Outlook. And where's that share? Again, here's ShareFest. Okay. So first of all, what are we looking at here? The same calendar entry on the SharePoint calendar list, which shows up on the public website, is now showing up in my copy of Outlook. Y'all follow me? And I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, there's a couple of things I need to change. First of all, it's there's no space in SharePoint, and then it didn't really start Friday. It was Thursday to Friday. Y'all see that? I'm going to hit save. As soon as I hit save, what happens now? That content, which is actually residing in my calendar list, got updated, which, by the way, is being displayed on the public-facing site, got updated. Did you ever think a day will come that you're going to update your public-facing website with Outlook? That's what I call power to the people. I mean, the beauty of this platform is we're not boxing somebody, oh, you got to use a browser and go to the SharePoint site. Forget it. You know, a lot of us struggle with adoption. I don't even talk about the S word. Since Outlook and Excel is the killer app, well, I tell Pamela, hey, what if you can update the public-facing website with your copy of Outlook? Oh, I'm all for that. I'm an Outlook expert. Right? You see, when we engage with decision makers, you know, a lot of us, we show the Microsoft PowerPoint. Who's working on Microsoft? Okay. Close your ears. We show the Microsoft PowerPoint. Oh, look at the 6 pillars. I'm going to hypnotize you now. No. Well, that's great. There's no connection with business value and relevancy. So, gang, if I refresh this, right, that same piece of information that was just updated in Outlook, guess what? Got updated on my public-facing site. And that's a platform. You see, while we pitch big things to decision makers, oh, we got to do this with SharePoint, hook it up with this HIPAA thing, with SOX thing, CFR Part 11 thing, Run DMC thing. What we're missing is something that's front and center and obvious. You want better usage, you want better adoption, you got to get that this should be an integral part of our business. People would have to go to work not thinking about SharePoint as an afterthought. People would have to go to work. They should think about SharePoint as an essential tool that will help get my job done faster, better, sooner. One of the key things organizations I work with, they said, hey, Dux, users always come to us and say, I don't like how SharePoint looks, make it pretty. That shouldn't be the top of mind unless it's a public site. Do you have people telling you, I don't like how Outlook looks, make it pretty? I don't like how Excel looks, change it. They don't think about that because they think of Outlook, Excel as business-enabling, business-essential tool. And that's how you should shape the conversation. Number 2, the second way to maximize SharePoint in your highly compliant environment, especially as you engage with the business, you got to develop relevant use cases. While we talk about, we can build an intranet, which is fine. It can help improve us with collaboration and knowledge management and reporting, compliance, which is great, but that's all big words, right? Well, let me ask you this. How many of you in your company, people in your company, have a negative perception of SharePoint? Raise your hand. Yeah? How many of you have users come to you and say, I don't like SharePoint, SharePoint sucks? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you got those people, right? Well, here's a tip for you. When you go back to work on Monday and you look at them, you see them, they tell you SharePoint sucks, this is what you tell them. It's a freaking tool. You're a tool. Again, I can say that because I'm an immigrant. I'm just learning my English here. We always blame the technology. We always blame SharePoint or SharePoint. It's a freaking tool. Unless you have your act together, knowing what business problems, how you can enhance collaboration, communication, coordination for business purposes, it's a tool. So how do you develop relevant use cases, Docs? You don't start pitching the tools. Talk about solutions. Earlier in my example, our pain was updating our public site. Okay, we have this thing called SharePoint. But we also realized that Pamela loves Outlook. So what solution can I do for Pamela that can connect the dots that will be effective for everyone? Now we have a content management system powered by Outlook, whatever you want to call it. Y'all with me? Here's another thing I want to show you. I recorded this little video in 2013 to show you another solution on how you potentially can take advantage of SharePoint for doing project collaboration, right? So I'm going to bring this up a bit. Just a minute. Can you bring up the video, sir? The audio, sir?
Meet my colleague Alex. He and I are working on putting together a presentation for our boss. Thanks to SharePoint 2013, we're able to easily centralize and manage all related artifacts and communications for this project. On a typical day, Alex would start working from home using his Mac. He would check his email from the browser and start work from there. Looks like Alex is reviewing the tasks for the project, and he has some questions for me about the project. Just by using the browser, he's able to instant message me using technologies like Link. One of the key benefits of SharePoint 2013 is its deep integration with existing tools that we already use, like Microsoft Office, smartphones, and even web-based technologies. So even if I'm out and about, I'm still not in the office yet, I can easily respond to Alex on my phone and update my tasks. The beauty with SharePoint 2013 is that I can continue working with Alex once I get to the office. You just assign me a task on the project site, and look at what happens. It automatically shows up on my task list in Microsoft Outlook. Isn't that cool, or what? Additionally, within Outlook, I can email the entire team directly using this neat feature called Site Mailbox. The Site Mailbox is available not only in Outlook, but it's the same Site Mailbox that the team can see and interact with directly on the project site. The Site Mailbox also provides visibility to all the documents I have in the project site. So what do you think? Are you excited? I am. This is the new way to...
So what was I showing you, right? I was talking about solution. A lot of us are very myopic, especially IT, when we talk about SharePoint. We always pitch SharePoint, SharePoint, SharePoint. The reality is people go to work, they don't just use one tool. The reality is people have multiple needs depending on who they are at the time of day. So think about a solution, package it up, and again, use what you have, existing tools. You know, going back to this demo I did, so let's take it further, right? Let's take it further. So I've got, let's see, let me close Firefox here. All right, let me bring it back up. And so I've got this project site. I need to do a presentation to the executive because we just finished a clinical trial and I need to present the results of it. So executive presentation project. It's a big deal, working with various stakeholders, all that good stuff. And as you can see, I'm on my Mac. I love my Mac. I'm not ashamed to say that. In the power of a platform like 2013, it doesn't really matter what you use because it's all cross-browser, cross-platform compliant. You know, in 2013, they have this new thing called Timeline View, which is great. It gives you visibility on what's coming up. And then the other thing is usability. You know, Mike earlier talked about a lot of great features, and for me, the best thing about 2013 is the ease of use and usability. So for example, so check this out. I'm in my Mac, and this is what's called the Finder. It's kind of like Windows Explorer. You know, one of the big deals for me is in 2013, you could just simply drag and drop as a way to upload to a document library. And that's huge, especially multiple files, right? So another thing is when Mike was talking about social, you know, every site has a newsfeed, so that's cool. But here's another use case. So carrying on this example, and this actually happened to one of our customers a few years ago. So they have SharePoint. It's nothing but a big file share. So we went in there and helped them, and you know, just took advantage of what they have. And one of the first solution business need that this technology was able to fulfill is to help them manage their projects. Because this company uses email, Excel, and network share to facilitate project management. Yes, I'm talking about all of you. So I decided, you know what, you know, quick win, you can use SharePoint out of the box for project management. At any given point in time, they have 100 projects. And so, you know, we help shape the solution, train them, and I made sure every project manager bought a book called SharePoint for Project Management. My son gets 80 cents a copy. And so it was good, you know, it's the idea of having a one-stop shop, everything about the project on this project site. But interestingly enough, one thing I found about this company, as a part of their process, at the end of the month, they email a project expense report to Miss Betty in accounting. So Miss Betty in accounting, at the end of the month, on her email inbox, would have to gather 100 Excel project expense report and put it together as a summary. Y'all follow me? So I talked to Miss Betty. I said, Miss Betty, how much time do you spend doing this? She goes, about 6 hours. I go, Miss Betty, so how do you like doing that? I mean, it's all right. It's part of my job. I've been doing it for 8 years. I go, Miss Betty, what if, just what if, I can help you cut down that time in half? What if instead of spending 6 hours doing that process of collecting expenses, what if you could do it in 4 hours? Is that something that you'd be interested in? She goes, of course, but. I go, but what? As long as I can only do it in Excel, I don't want to learn anything new. I'm retiring in 2 years. You know, Miss Betty. I go, that's cool, Miss Betty, because you know what? I'm going to show you a feature in Excel. Really? I know everything about Excel. Not this one. So what's the deal, Docs? Okay, so here's the deal, Miss Betty. The new process is instead of project managers emailing you all their expenses, we're just going to have project managers put their expenses directly in their project site in the spirit of a one-stop shop. Everything's there. And as soon as they do that, automatically it's going to show up in your Excel spreadsheet on your desktop in your My Documents folder. Really? I go, yeah, check this out. So I showed this, and this is out of the box. So I go, okay, Miss Betty, here's the deal. So I'm going to pre-populate it, example. They bought a projector, they secured catering, and in fact, I'm going to change this column to something more appropriate format. See, let's make it currency, okay, so that's cool. Okay, so Miss Betty, let's kind of see this. So I'm going to take this data in Excel, I'm going to convert to what's called an Excel table, right? Now that it's an Excel table, right, what we're going to do, and, we see this, I'm going to put in a special add-on. And this special add-on is not, you don't have to buy it. You can download it from Microsoft. So I'm going to go to Options. I'm going to go to Add-ins. And by the way, I just tweeted the step-by-step how to do this. So if you're not on Twitter, get on the program. So I'm going to put this little add-on in there. It's called the Excel SharePoint Sync. I just downloaded from Microsoft earlier. So as soon as I do that, gang, check out what happens here. Publish and allow sync. Well, I'll be. Right? So what I'm going to do next, gang, I'm going to take, instead of typing all this project site address, I'm just going to take that information, and then I'm going to put it there so I don't have to type it. So that's the address. I'm going to call this the clinical, clinical trial project expenses. Not sure why my caps lock's not working, but clinical trial presentation. Whatever, right? So I'm going to hit publish. So gang, what's going on here? What's going on is Excel now is accessing that project site, making sure I can do what I'm supposed to do, so it's logging me in, and then taking this information, creating an expense sheet on that project site, and keeping the connection. Once we're done with this, gang, right, I could easily right-click on this piece of information and look at it. So as soon as I hit view, here we go, clinical trial presentation project expenses in the project site. And in fact, let me go to my Mac environment. So let's say, I'm the kind of project manager that uses a Mac, which is cool, because now I can access my project site and put in all my expenses without emailing Excel stuff. So let's say as a part of this project, I bought a car. Now, if you don't realize what I'm just doing now, this is the data sheet, which, by the way, I'm on my Mac, in Firefox on my Mac. You remember the data sheet view? Who likes a data sheet view? What's the problem with data sheet view in 2010? Only works in IE. Yeah? You hear the angels singing, ah. So now, in the spirit of BYOD, I love my Mac, which is cool, and I'm using 2013, I put in my expenses, but check this out. Right? Check this out. As soon as I do that, an alert went out. Miss Betty got an email saying, hey, the expenses were just updated. She can simply hit a button that says synchronize. And as soon as she hit that button, synchronize, bada bing, bada boom, voila. It's going to go out, look at that information, make it available in the spreadsheet sitting on Miss Betty's desktop. She looks at the invoices and receipts. She goes, oh, hold on. You didn't buy a car. You bought carpet. It's a typo. It's not $50,000. You spent $500 on the carpet you're going to put on the podium. And then she can update it. She can synchronize it. As soon as she synchronizes it, again, that same piece of information is now published on to that project site. And that's value right there, right? So, carpet, $500. Y'all see that? Is that something you think will benefit your organization? Now, some of you may think, well, good for you, Docs, but we're not on 2013. This is not a 2013 thing. You know when this feature came out? Excel 2003 and SharePoint 2003. It's a 10-year-old technology that's just sitting. And what did we say about enterprise social? A method to enhance better communication, collaboration, and coordination for business purposes. I just made Excel social. I don't get a clap for that.
To work together with SharePoint 2013.
The power of SharePoint as a platform is It's not a one-size-fits-all. Miss Betty likes her Excel, good for her. Let her use Excel. I like my mobile, my Mac, good for you, ducks. SharePoint is the glue that can enable us to do all these things. Don't call it SharePoint. Call it whatever it's intended to be. I mean, SharePoint is a brilliant project management platform. I'll show you a simple example. Guess what? This is a public-facing site powered by SharePoint. Virginia Department of Transportation. Bunch of dashboard, monitoring their projects. And you know why? Because it's such an open platform that the data, it can come from Excel, Microsoft Project, Project Server, Primavera, whatever. Right? Is really SharePoint ready for the big time? Oh yeah. This is from the White House. It tracks $800 billion worth of federal stimulus funds. I don't know if you remember that a couple of years ago. I can drill down to a state, how much money was given, what projects are being worked on. Is it ahead? Is it behind? How many jobs were created? Powered by SharePoint. I could go on and on till the break the dawn, but Environmental Protection Agency, powered by SharePoint. And guess what? FDA, right? A lot of you made these investments already. You have it. It's sitting there. Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay. Yeah. What kind of rap do you want? Freestyle?
Freestyle with some East Coast.
Okay. So step 3. You engage. Well, first of all, is this useful? Yes. Okay, good. Educate executives. Relevant use case for the business. Number 3. Make sure you have a roadmap. Okay. And when I talk about roadmap is once you figure out what the business needs are, you got to figure out how these tie to SharePoint. You lead with what's the pain, what's the business need, okay? And then how SharePoint can help us. One of the big questions I always get is, docs, I mean, SharePoint has so many features. How do we know which one to roll out, not to roll out, to use, not to use, when, all that good stuff. This is how you do it. So this is a good example of a large organization you work with, 10,000 people. And I work with different business groups. Key business groups. Okay, operations. What are some of the things you do in the business today that breaks your heart? Right? It's just so manual, it's just so cumbersome. Docs, SOP creation. When we do that CFR Part 11 SOP, we got to go to the freaking network share, 14 folders deep, grab that Excel file, put my name, put the other guy's name in. It's just a mess. As they describe that process, what I do on my end on column C is I map it to an out-of-the-box capability that SharePoint can do. Right? In related technologies. So I do this exercise with different groups in the organization, and then in the end of this conversation, maybe an hour or two, I would ask them, operations, what's the most important thing for you to get addressed like right now? Oh, if we can fix this SOP creation like right now, improve that, that would be great. What about you, HR? If we can improve this payroll process, that would be brilliant. What about you, finance? So I go through this exercise because I want to clearly tie a business need to what SharePoint can do. So if somebody asks me, why do we have that wiki? It's because it's going to help the finance improve their fee policy decision-making process. Y'all with me? Forgive my heavy southern accent. I use y'all a lot. I'm from the deep south. Southeast Asia, that is, Manila. That was a good one, right, Gabor? Now, he's my manager. He's trying to get me in Jay Leno, so. Now, okay, Doc, so I see the mapping, right? But what's next? What's next? So after you map a business need to your SharePoint capability, you can't do it all. There's no way IT can do it all. You got to prioritize. What battles are we going to pick today versus tomorrow versus next week, right? So how do you prioritize? So now you take that and flip the view. I've got the different departments, HR. I've extracted all the features based on their business needs, and now I'm going to measure it. How important is this? 5. It's very important because it's going to improve payroll processing, onboarding. What's the effort to do this? It's a 2. What's a 2? I've got measurements here, at least from my team. 2, to help that HR is 3-person week effort. Now, maybe different in your world. What's the business impact? High impact. 3, how reusable is this solution for HR? 3, very reusable. We can templatize it so next year they can use it again. What's the total business value? 9. And at this point, gang, you bring back the business and say, this is what SharePoint needs. The struggle we face in the organization today is business goes, go do SharePoint. IT does their thing. Here's SharePoint. How do you like it? Sites, surveys, wikis, want to supersize it. BCS next. And then the business gets it. I don't know what to do with this. Let me just dump files in there. Y'all with me? We don't do this. Now you bring the business back in and say, hey gang, this is what SharePoint means. So I'm sure as you can see now, I can't do this as a Windows admin on top of my day job and roll it out to the whole company. After you do this conversation with the business, you also have to be realistic with how much IT can do and cannot do. If IT has to do that for HR, what's the impact? A one maybe 20 hours. Because they have to set up AD, set up the environment. What about support? It's another 20 hours a month. What about training? 20 hours. Total IT impact 3. And this is a great conversation piece now with the business and IT and say, oh, it's a 9 for the business, so we should do it. But IT goes, well, it's a 3 for IT. We don't have the budget for it for this fiscal. But the business goes, well, it's important. It's going to help this process. This is a good opening for IT. Why don't you pony up, business? It's IT's job to put SharePoint in place, keep the lights running, but for business-specific solutions that clearly is going to help the business, make them pay up. And that's something we don't do as IT. And you know what? If people pay for something, they value it more. And just giving to them carte blanche, here you go, ends up as a function. So in this example, after engaging with the business and IT, we have a roadmap. 15-month roadmap, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and this is what SharePoint will be for our company. Part of your roadmap is you've got to establish relevant governance plan. You know, we want SharePoint to flourish. But, you know, as the great wisdom of Spider-Man says, with great power comes, we are responsible for making sure to protect our investment, our organization. So we have to have relevant governance plan. When I say relevant, don't go to Microsoft, download a governance template, fill in the blanks, and email it around and say, ooh, we got governance. Because that's what you all do. I mean, governance is not a bad thing. We live in a great country and we have the governance called Constitution. I have my freedom, but I have boundaries on what I can do and cannot do. But I doubt our forefathers went to a website called constitution.com and downloaded a template. Because that's what we do with SharePoint. And we wonder why it's not working. Part of your governance strategy is you have to have your compliance strategy too. And we work with a lot of organizations, especially in life sciences, where at any given point in time, you know, I always ask my customers, so how do you know sensitive data is not in your SharePoint platform? Oh, we don't put sensitive data. Okay, prove it to me. How do you know? What if you get audited? That, you know, for me and my customers, I rely on partners like AvePoint where they can scan and provide a heat map report saying, oh, this is out of compliance, this is in compliance, HIPAA, CFR Part 11, whatever. The fourth way to maximize SharePoint is you got to groom champions. IT cannot do it alone. Now, I'm ashamed to admit this. I come from a long line of superheroes. My real name is not Dux. It's actually Dux L. My father's Kal-El. My grandfather's Jor-El. I thought I could do SharePoint by myself. I'll install it, roll it out, everybody seeing collaboration combined. I failed. And you will fail if you take a very technocentric, IT-only strategy. You need the business to help you. And when I say you need business people to help you, you don't need to hire a lot of people. You need people to get excited, like Miss Betty in accounting, because they will help you preach the good word and how SharePoint can help your job much better. If you're wondering, this is a sport called Dragon Boat Rowing. Anybody familiar with this? It's big in Asia. This is a picture of the Philippine Dragon Boat Rowing team winning second in the 1994 World Championship. And I was fortunate to be part of that team. I was the guy in the back. I'm the steersman. I thought we won first. That's why I put 1. And like 2 seconds later, after Associated Press took that photo, I realized you won second. By half of a second. But, you know, without my whole team, I can be IT standing. I could do this. I could take us to the finish line. Not really. Not really. The fifth way to maximize your SharePoint investment. You got to deliver a sustainable adoption program. Not just adoption. If there's anything you can remember in this session, 2 words. Sustainable adoption. Can you repeat after me?
Sustainable adoption.
With enthusiasm? We think of adoption as training. We think of adoption as an afterthought. But to embrace this whole way of doing things, by throwing out training alone, it's not enough. Here's a site, here's a list, here's a library. Go at it. Yeah, whatever. To Miss Sally, that doesn't mean jack squat. Or Miss Betty. 2 months later, Miss Betty called me up. She said, Docs, that Excel thing you showed me is great. Because now I did 99 other spreadsheets and connected with 99 other projects, and I created a summary sheet. Now I don't have to deal with email. All the data comes in, I correct it with the invoices, and I have my little pivot table and chart for reporting. Y'all follow me? And I don't have to spend 6 hours. I only spend 4 hours. In fact, last month, I didn't have to put in an overtime to get that report done. You talk about business value, saves Miss Sally time. Guess what? The company doesn't have to pay overtime. ROI, ROI. We are now singing ROI. You find me funny? But are you learning stuff though?
I'm using, not funny.
Gabor, you gotta work with me here. The desired results of sustainable adoption is number one, you want to drive excitement. SharePoint is not just Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. You got to shift people's thinking. And to do that, you can't inject massive change. You can't expect your people to say, go and take this SharePoint training, learn everything about SharePoint, and then tomorrow you will walk in water. No. Start small. Start things that they're familiar with. Things like Excel, things like Outlook. Right? And then grow with that. And another part of this result is you want to facilitate change. Change for the better. Saving Miss Sally 2 hours. Helping the company to be in compliant with what? Pharmacovigilance. Because you have different divisions around the world. And you know if something comes up in the local jurisdiction, you put a file there, you don't want it to surface in the other country. For legal reasons, compliance reasons, right? You want to make sure you empower and assist people. You give me 5 more minutes? Now, you talk about excitement. I want to show you one more thing. One of the things that people always tell me, well, Docs, it's so hard to get people to change in my company because they're used to Excel and email and Outlook. But I'm curious, though, for those same people, they love their smartphones, they love their mobile, they love this stuff. So one of the things people don't realize, let's go back here. Let's say in SharePoint 2013, every SharePoint site comes with a OneNote notebook. Anybody use OneNote? It's great, isn't it? Anybody use Evernote? This is 100 times better. So one of the use cases that I've helped my customers with is, you know what? Every site you can put a OneNote notebook, and if you're mobile and you're in a meeting, you're in some research and you need to capture informal information, why don't you capture it in a OneNote notebook that's sitting on your SharePoint site, which you can access with any mobile device? Really? Yeah. So let me show you this. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be Windows Phone. It could be iOS. It could be Android. So I'm on my that project site, and what I'm going to do just to prove to you that this thing will certainly help me. Can you stand up? So I'm going to have you take a picture of me, and so this picture, since OneNote takes any kind of content, can you stand here? You know how to use a Windows Phone? Just press this middle, right? Just the middle here. So he's going to take a picture. Everybody smile. 1, 2, 3, go. Done? Okay, great. Thank you. Let's give him a big hand. So one of the things that's so powerful about this is OneNote not only can be used, right, for taking notes in your Windows environment, because you have a OneNote client. Let me bring it up. But if it's in a SharePoint site as a part of your project site, as soon as I did that, it could take in videos, audio, text, attachments, whatever, consolidate it, and guess what? If it's now part of your project site, it's syncing. I don't have to deal with emailing stuff. I had a customer where they had to take photos and videos and whatever on site, and as soon as they did that, they had to email it. It's all there. And if an alert comes up, boom, it's just going to send it back to corporate. The right people will get it at the right time. So, it's coming up. It's coming up. There he goes. Just waiting for the internet. That's talking about power to the people. collaborations on my terms, delivering and enhancing better communication, collaboration, coordination for business purposes. Is that new, docs? No. It's been there since OneNote 2010 and SharePoint 2010. You can use that today. It's not a magic trick. It's a real deal. How do you like that? Good stuff? I'm going to tag everyone on Facebook later. So when you drive sustainable adoption, yeah, there's that awareness phase. So you take it phase by phase. You get people excited. This is the possibility, right? Then you get buy-in. Okay, let me start working with the clinical trial team that looks at what you guys do that's painful and we can help you. And then the third piece is you build long-term engagement. And throughout these three phases, people have to be excited, change should happen, and they should be assisted. Because as we know, taking a very technical approach is just not cutting it anymore. Our old ways of rolling out technology, users go training, have a good life, doesn't work. It needs to be different. So what do you guys think? You ready to take these 5 steps? Yeah. Raise your hand if you're ready. Okay, are you sure? Raise your hand, raise your hand. Okay, stand up with me. I'm going to teach you this 5 steps. Stand up. Stand up. So here's how this 5 steps goes, okay? Step 1, you stand straight. Stand straight. Step 2, put your arms together. Step 3 is left foot. Step 4 is right foot. And step 5 is right foot. You got that? All right, let's practice it. When the chorus comes, you got to do this. You want change. All right, step 1. All right, step 2. Step 3. Step 5. Okay. Again. Step 1. What's step 1? Executive buy-in, right? Step 2. Relevant use cases. Step 3. Roadmap. Step 4. What's step 4? Champions, all right? Step 5. Sustainable adoption. All right, let's get this ready now. I'm going to take my coat off. All right. You ever done this in a conference? Ready? Step 1. All right, get everything in. So, thank you. Hopefully that was helpful. This whole session was recorded. I can send it to you. Drop your contact info. I'll give you a copy of my book. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you. All right.